Hello, everybody. My name is Nia Crawford, and welcome to my very first Blk Feminist Thought blog. When I first heard about feminism, I always thought of it as a white woman's thing, honestly, because all over social media, it was like the no shade movement and the free flow movement. And if that was feminism, I just honestly didn't want to be a part of something like that. I totally understood what women were doing by feeling that they need to embrace the things that were very natural to them without them being placed under a norm of being unfeminine. But I just didn't like that was what defined feminism, pretty much. Because that was really all I saw much of when I heard about feminism. So, feminism to me now is so much more than what I first thought of it as. So I've been exposed to so many different things in feminism now that I realize that it's more than just a white woman's thing. It's a movement for women, especially with Black feminism. So the first time I was exposed to Black feminist thought was last year. I took Dr. Muhammad's Black Women in the 20th Century class, and it really opened my eyes. Like, I'm just really grateful that I took that class because I didn't know about a lot of the women that I knew about. Like, now I found like the lady I love so much now, Miss Fannie Lou Hamer. We read about her many times. I've done multiple projects on her afterwards, but I'm getting off track. So, feminism to me now is a vehicle for Black women to be able to challenge authority in society and be able to say how they feel like they're excluded in certain places and how we should be able to position ourselves into those places that we are denied so much access from just for being a woman and for being Black and all the other intersectionalities that come with us. It uplifts and encourages Black women, but not only Black women. It uplifts and encourages our community, our people of color, just to know that, just to come in and nurture our community, because as Black women, we've always been known to have such a motherly spirit and just want to look out for everybody around us. And I love that about Black feminism. Like, we don't just make it about Black women. It's about Black women, Black men. Although they're not our primary focus, it still puts them in it somehow, just by making sure that our Black men aren't brought down, that we always support them and stuff. Black women make sure it's a voice for people who are marginalized and left out of certain places. It primarily does speak on Black women, but it still takes care of other people. So my two top favorite readings from this semester were A Crooked Room by Melissa Perry. I believe this one was really just influential to me because how she places Black women in an actual room, and it's crooked, and it just what is it? It's an analogy for how we can never really be straight up in a room, especially if we're in a crooked room. Like, how are we able to stand up straight? And it just shows that the world sometimes, or all the time, is really not made for Black women to succeed in, which is very true. Like, we're not able to be placed in a position that we should be placed in sometimes just because we're at a disadvantage by being both Black and being a woman, which is the double minority. Also, a quote that stuck out to me in the reading was when she was talking about the women she was in a focus group with, and she asked them what people think of Black women, or what their stereotypes are when they think of Black women. So one of the stereotypes was that Black women were always trying to be manipulative, bossy, or too demanding. And it was just so easily relatable because personally, sometimes I feel like I have to dial myself back just so people won't believe that I'm being too much, or that I'm trying to make them think something, or that I'm trying to force them to feel some type of way. And that's not how it is. It just may come off like that And that's what people think of us sometimes. Also, she has a big emphasis on recognition in the world, recognition and distribution, just to be recognized for who we are. And then if you aren't recognized, like she said, it's a lack of distribution, like a lack of jobs, which creates a lack of wealth in the Black women community. And this sets us at a terrible disadvantage because without wealth, how can we move up in society and become powerful like the elite white males are? How can we get to that status if we're not recognized enough to get the distribution of goods that we need to move up? So I thought that was something that stood out to me and was really important. One of my favorite readings from this year and last year in Black Women in the 20th Century was Joan Morgan's A Hip Hop Feminist. I love this. I just love Joan Morgan in general because I feel like she's very relatable. I feel like she's easy to read. She doesn't make stuff too hard, and she's very hip. Like, not just saying that because she's a hip hop feminist, but she's very hip. Like, she speaks how my mind worked when I first came into feminism and some of the questions I had when I first came into feminism. So, one of the things she spoke about in this book was not being able to relate to the women who, not being able to relate, but not really understanding how the Black women intellectuals that shaped feminism, how it related to how she lives her everyday life. And this was some thoughts I had when I first came into learning about Black feminism because I'm like, okay, this applies now, but we're not really treated as bad as we used to be treated, or it may just be covered up. But society has changed in a plethora of ways. But it's just like some of the things that these women are saying, I can't even grasp some of it was what I really related to with her, and it was just how I was thinking I was going to apply it to my everyday life. So that was one problem. Also in the book, she talks about an encounter she had with a couple of Black men after her very first Black feminism article came out, and how she had to feel as though she had to label herself as something just so they were able to know her position on it. And I felt like I could also relate to that as well. Because ever since I declared myself a feminist, it seems like more men, also women, but it seems like more men try to attack you and just see your standpoint on it. And feminism is not at all a rebuttal to men. It's a rebuttal to patriarchy and knowing that we deserve much more than what we get and that we're not going to fall under these gender norms just because this is our society. So two very relevant events that's been happening in the media that relate to some things we talked about in class most recently. The first one I'm going to speak on is Serena Williams, not with her argument, but her catsuit ban. Now, this was just an out-of-pocket response to her outfit that she had on. They called it a lack of respect. They said that pretty much that she needs to, if she's going to be in a tennis arena, then she needs to conduct herself in a professional manner. And this just goes to show that just Black women are just so, I'm not going to say so attacked, but from time to time Black women are, there's an attack upon us, honestly, because she's wearing a suit playing tennis just because her body is curvier than a white woman. She was sexualized automatically when she put it on, and they felt like it was a distraction. They felt like she was not respecting the game of tennis by wearing something that made her feel comfortable. It was ridiculous, and it just goes to show the reinforcement in patriarchy because male athletes don't get this type of criticism in any sport. Nobody talks about what they wear. You don't watch a Golden State game and then say Steph Curry's shorts were too small. Nobody's focused on that. But when it comes to a black woman, her body is automatically sexualized because she has on too tight clothes. Another incident that I totally hated that happened was the Monique versus Netflix scandal. So, it was, I believe it was the last year, Monique came out with a claim saying that she deserved more money than Netflix offered her. And of course, some people came back and they were like, who is she to make this claim? Monique's been out the game for years. Monique hasn't even had a big show or tour in a while. And I mean, it's some pretty accurate facts. But Monique is the queen of comedy. Monique is hilarious to me, but that doesn't really matter. Um, it's more so the comments that came out about Monique after she felt the need to voice her opinion and speak strongly for what she believes in as a woman. She feels like she should be able to get the pay that these men are getting, that Dave Chappelle is getting on Netflix. Who else? The Amy Schumer guy, and she's a woman. She's just not a black woman. She got offered way more than Monique did. But as soon as Monique came out to voice her opinion on these facts, she was mad. She's an angry woman. She doesn't deserve to be this mad. She got called Donkey of the Day on the Breakfast Club by another black male. It just goes to show how quickly we're labeled or stereotyped when we feel the need to voice something that we feel is what we deserve, honestly. Okay, so challenges I had during this midterm were probably trying to figure out events that happen in the media that relate to what we've been talking about in class. And it's mainly because the media doesn't really like to focus in on black women sometimes unless it's in a negative way. So that's why I picked two negative events that highlight how often we are just judged and criticized all over the world. And then this gives people the right to feel like they can judge us or criticize us when they see black women. So I feel like those were really the only difficulties I had in this project. I really enjoy actually doing this project because I'm a broadcast major, so I like to record myself. And then also because I just enjoy talking about feminism. Like, I enjoy talking about the different ways that people view black women. I enjoy speaking on stuff that not a lot of people speak on. And it's really hard to have these type of conversations with people because just people don't really recognize feminism for what it is or black feminism for what it is, and people don't necessarily always appreciate black women. So it's just good being able to talk about all the stereotypes that are built up from so long ago that still affect black women to this very day. So I really enjoyed doing this project.